honored to be joined, a hard turn here, by the great Rachel Barnhart, ma'am. Welcome to the broadcast.
Hey, Bob. Thanks for having me on.
And Rachel's not running for anything now, but she has been for some time the chief writer of something called RochesterForAll.com. And in that, she has continued in what I think is her life's calling, doing good investigative journalism. And this thing with the RHA, you've been investigating and writing about that for a while.
That's right. Last summer, when I was running for mayor, a number of RHA employees approached me with a lot of concerns, and one of the concerns that they had involved Rochester Housing Charities. It's a subsidiary, a nonprofit subsidiary created by RHA. That's pretty common for housing authorities to do that. But these employees were particularly concerned about some of RHC's activities, and they were concerned that they didn't know anything about it. They produced a contract that they gave me, which ended up being the subject of an FBI investigation, a contract to a firm, Capital Connection Partners. When I saw this contract, and it was clear that this was very odd, we didn't know who was involved. Why are they doing this with an out-of-town firm? Was there a bidding process? I filed an open records request. This was about a year ago. Filed an open records request for all contracts let by RHC, and I wanted to know the payroll. Because I had a suspicion that RHC might have been created to hook up people who were politically connected, or the nonprofits that were run by people on the RHA board. And it turns out I was correct. But here's what happened. When I filed these open records requests, RHA said, oh, no, you cannot have these records. And they went through great lengths to shield these records from me. I have ended up getting an opinion from the State Committee on Open Government, which said that, no, you are subject to open records laws. You cannot say that this nonprofit is a private entity. It's run by a government agency. So this is very similar to what happened with SUNY Poly. Remember the Elaine Calleros deal? That they tried to hide their activities in a nonprofit run by SUNY. Eventually, a judge said, no, you've got to release these documents. And fast forward to now, the FBI apparently had the same questions that I had, and they've uncovered a little bit here. They found that this contract was a way to funnel a payment to a company owned by City Councilman Adam McFadden. And they charged the board chairman with lying about the circumstances surrounding this contract. But there's a lot more that we don't know, Bob, because we need to know every single dime spent by Rochester Housing Charities. We need to know who benefited. My suspicion is, and this is based on something that we posted yesterday, that the nonprofits run by George Moses, who was charged, and John Page, who was the vice chair of the Rochester Housing Authority Board.
And those two guys have been like a pair for years.
Yes. Yeah. And so we have an MOU agreement between Rochester Housing Charities and the South Wedge Planning Committee. It was a draft agreement, but my understanding is it was executed, where they would share some services. And so the question becomes, was Rochester Housing Charities a vehicle to benefit these guys and their nonprofits? We don't know the answer to that question, but there is some evidence suggesting that that's the case. And I fully expect the FBI to further pursue this. I mean, the sad part about the open records law is that in order for me to take, I got an opinion saying, look, legally they have to open their books, but I would have had to go to court and file a lawsuit, and I don't have the resources to do that. So I'm hoping that someone does it, and who knows, maybe the FBI will do it for us.
Explain, speaking to Rachel Barnhart, RochesterForAll.com, her website. You can see her reporting there. What's the McFadden deal? What process allegedly involved Councilman McFadden, please?
Well, we had this contract in our hands, Capital Connection Partners, and it was for a significant amount of money. It was less than $100, but it was close to $100,000. It was close to that. And we know that RHC had this contract with this company to do lobbying services, some financial education services for residents. We don't know if that work was performed. It turns out, though, that the company that received those funds ended up giving a cut to McFadden's company, and that
a large cut. So I think it was 75% of the money, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so was this a pass through? I think McFadden legal fate will probably rest on whether work was performed. That's what we need to find out. What was actually done here? Clearly, they tried to conceal this payment, no question, and that's unethical. Whether or not something illegal occurred, I think we've got to know what exactly happened.
If there was value for that money paid. Anything else you're working on? What should we be looking forward to?
We're continuing to follow this Rock the Riverway. I mean, yesterday with this announcement of the new location for the Performing Arts Center, it was very clearly linked to this Rock the Riverway initiative, which was supposed to get all this public money to do projects. We need to now be looking out for who benefits. Are these campaign donors and big-time developers who are really going to be the beneficiaries of this? So this is a question that we'll be looking at closely. But we're, Rochester for All, we have a new website coming out. You're going to visit it now, and it's not going to look that pretty. We have a new website coming out next month, and we'll have a really refined mission so people know exactly what we're about. I'm hesitant to call us a straight news organization because, well, some of us are political, and I think this is an honest way to do it, to say, look, we're a watchdog organization. Here's who we are. Here are our conflicts. And we post all source documents so that you have confidence in what we're doing. But we're going to have a refined mission. And, yes, it's going back to my roots. But honestly, Bob, this is not the kind of stuff I could have done as a TV journalist. It just isn't.
Yeah, papers should hire you. Rachel Barnhart, thank you so much for talking to us, ma'am. I appreciate
Bob.
that. You take care.
Bye-bye.